Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, depending on where you are in the globe, of course. My name is Augusto Borella, and I am VP of Oil and Gas Products at Intelli, a Brazilian tech company. It's a great pleasure to have you here, and I would like to thank all of you for joining our webinar today. This webinar is organized by WPC, World Petroleum Council, and IBP, Brazilian Petroleum and Gas Institute. Before we start, I would like to inform you that at the end of the webinar, there will be a QR code displayed on the screen with the event survey. It's very important to us you answer it, giving us feedbacks. Also, the YouTube chat is open for you to send your questions throughout the event. We will answer them at the end. In 2019, aiming to generate a positive impact in the society, especially considering the relevance of the oil and gas industry, WPC Brazil National Committee organized an expert workshop discussing the impact of digital transformation in oil and gas industry. This expert workshop was held as part of the Oil and Gas Tech Week 2019, an international digital transformation event for oil and gas industry held at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. For sure, the dissemination of the digital transformation within all sectors of the economy contributes to build a better future for all. Therefore, today, the purpose of this upcoming webinar is to follow up the main points discussed on 2019 WPC Expert Workshop, updating the analysis of the impact of digital transformation in the future of the oil and gas industry post-COVID-19. So, I will not take more time, and I would like to welcome our speakers. Tamara Garcia is R&D Manager at Repsol Sinopec. In recent years, Tamara has stood out as a leading protagonist in the Brazilian energy industry, R&D, and innovation ecosystem. Marcia Tosta is Information Security Executive Manager at Petrobras. With any doubt, Marcia is an important cybersecurity leader in the energy industry in Brazil and worldwide. Claudio Makarovski is Industry Energy Director at Microsoft. Maka, as he goes by, is a professional reference in the energy market, standing out in the convergence of industrial automation and emerging technologies. Professor Nívio Ziviani is a professor emeritus at the Department of Computer Science at Federal University of Minas Gerais. Professor Nívio has an admirable professional career, being successful as researcher, as entrepreneur, and as board of directors member. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for being here with us today. So, dear speakers, we discussed which technology would most impact the industry in the next years. The artificial intelligence was the champion, digital twin the second, and nanotechnology the third. I would like to start our conversation asking to you, if in your opinion, this technology is really shined in the last 2 years, or another technology should be highlighted because of its relevant impact since 2019. So, Tamara, would you mind to start sharing your perspective on that?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everybody. Thank you very much for your introduction, Borella. Thank you very much to EVP for organizing this interesting event. Going to the point of your question, I think we can confirm that effectively artificial intelligence has stated one of the most important technology at worldwide level. We all know a lot of examples about its application in relevant sectors, not only in the oil and gas, also in medicines, in the finance sectors. In all of them has been playing a key role. We all know about the value of the information. We can affirm nowadays that the value of the information has been becoming a really important issue. We can talk about a new industrial revolution that we are living nowadays. And the point is exactly the use of the data and the use of the information that we can do, and get value out of it. we can talk about the digital twin as an example of this application of the artificial intelligence to a specific case. Basically, the digital twin is a representation of an operation, of a platform, of an industrial operation. And it's not only a representation, it's also the opportunity, to control remotely, that operation, get value out of the data, not only measuring the parameters about this operation, also improving the use of it to infer, the behavior of these facilities in the future, and also to perform a remote control of that operations. So digital twin is becoming step by step, and advancing in that path. I think honestly there are further developments that could be improved when we talk about it, and for sure in the paradigm of the artificial intelligence, we can talk about further developments that can be deployed, in especially in the oil and gas. At the end of the day, what is behind this? We are talking about applied mathematics, no? So basically, is how to implement these calculations in a computer or in a supercomputer, and then being able, to translate that orders into machine language, and also adapt this to the reality of the advancements of the software. Of the software and the hardware. We all know about how the hardware has been also being developed. And this is where the nanotechnology is also playing a key role, because at the end of the day, the volume of information that you can process or that you can store it in a computer or in a supercomputer depends highly on the physical units where you can allocate that information, the bit of information. So nanotechnology is also playing a key role in that area. Because as much as smaller is the bit of information, the most powerful computers you are developing. Okay, so basically, I can confirm that we can say that these three areas have been in a scope, in a priority scope of most of the sectors of the industries. And we can affirm that is going to be continuously being developed in the next years. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Tamara, for the insights. Marcel, would you like to bring the cybersecurity perspective? Because in 2019, the cybersecurity was one of the technologies that were evaluated, but was not among the first ones. And the world is still looking like that to cybersecurity. You need to open your mic, Marcia, please.
As always, the more common phrase that we hear. Okay, hello, Borella, hello, everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank for the opportunity to be here talking with these great professionals about technology. Well, I'd like to talk some points of my vision. From 2019 until today, for sure, many of those technologies have materialized, such as cloud computing, digital twins, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, drones, and cybersecurity. That I think that is the most important thing. Greatly motivated by the pandemics, the adoption of cloud computing accelerate exponentially enable companies' process to continue working with people working from home, accessing internal resource in the company and especially resource available in the cloud, such as email, video conference, and cybersecurity solutions. At Petrobras, we are already moving in this direction, and this benefited us during the beginning of the pandemics, driving the path of transition to the cloud. So I think a lot of that points that have had discussed in 290 are very important. Not only the three champions, but I think that we have a lot of technology that we have to talk about. A technology mentioned in 2019 that was already brought great financial returns to Petrobras was digital twins, where we can use a simulator of the future with sensors, with test scenarios, and predict solutions and increase the efficiency of our operations. It's a reality in Petrobras. With this innovation, the company was able to increase profitability and optimizations of refineries by 2,000 million in 2020. The digital twins work with real data from the plant in production and create a digital version of our refineries. With this, it is possible to simulate several scenarios before putting them into practice, which makes the operation more efficient. Continuing the illustration of implemented technologies, I highlight the use of the glasses that allow you to see augmented reality with the help of the holograms and artificial intelligence. We enable remote visits by executive managers, especially during the pandemics, to the company facilities in a fully immersive way. The technology is also applied in training new employees in new activities. The immersive experience allows visitors to learn about activities, process, and use with the help of technology and increase safety to the training in the form of simulation. Another reality at Petrobras is the use of drones for painting ships, a risky activity performed by human beings that it's now performed by machines, allowing employees to work more safely. Continuing with the theme of health protection, we use artificial intelligence to identify deviations in the posture of the employees when moving in activity with the company's premise, where intelligent systems identify behaviors that favor residents and alert people to the need for correction to avoid accidents. And finally, cybersecurity is the great enabler of the implementation of these new technologies. All of them bring then risks, cyber threats, which needs to be addressed so that the adoption of technology does not bring risks rather than benefits. No wonder cybersecurity is one of the pillars of the Industry 4th. Since 2019, Petrobras have been giving more and more importance to the issues of the information security, transforming the issue from an operational approach to a strategic approach, supporting the board in decision-making by increasing the maturity of its process, investing in practices and technologies, and raises awareness among its employees. Its search for increased maturity in information security generates a large corporate action plan that aims to protect against increasing complex and structured threats in this new scenario. So I'm saying that all that technologies are important. Yes, I think that it was very assertive in the three champions, but I think that it's very important to put other technologies that can complete the ecosystem of the technologies that we are living today. I think that is it, Borel.
Thank you. Very good thoughts and sharing views during the discussion of the technologies. What we saw lacking, it was awareness about cybersecurity. And from your speech, you can see that Petrobras has increased a lot the awareness about cybersecurity and is working hard on that. And besides, you presented some practical applications in the industry. I would like to listen from you, Maka, how other companies are improving the use of technologies in the industry applications. If you can open your mic. Thank you, Mark.
Me too. Okay. So thanks, Borella, and thanks WPC and IBP for the opportunity to talk and to share the stage with so big persons from the oil and gas industry. For sure, for all this technology mentioned so far, I think most of the big companies, mainly the oil and gas companies, IOCs or NOCs, they took the advantage of one infrastructure to speed up their exponential digital transformation. All of them in different speed. They mentioned that after the COVID-19 announced in March 2020, most of the speed was increased, and some companies mentioned public that 2 years was implemented in 2 weeks. 40,000 people moved to their homes. To have remote home working, that was for a small portion of the company, only the top manager, etc., that could have your notebook and your connection to work as a slave in the weekends because we had no more relaxed timing, okay? But suddenly this became a fever and was the way that everyone could survive during this period, almost 2 years now. But the infrastructure that make it possible was the cloud processing, the public cloud, okay? And this public cloud allow us to break some paradigms. For example, in Brazil we had some special regulation for a state-owned company that could not, by principle, to go to the cloud. This was rephrased, and this became possible. And the second discussion was regarding the security, the safety. What will happen if a hacker or a ransomware attack myself, like Marcia mentioned? And we have and also the latency. We have some information that could not wait minutes to have the answer. So solutions for that was, first, all the public cloud suppliers made huge investment, to allow that you have some special machine like HPC, GPUs, etc., available in country. So this fits the regulation, for example, for the Brazilian regulation, that all the data must reside in country, and also the backup should be residing in country also, okay? So services level like SLA of 99.99% of availability, using express route with fiber optics, etc., make it possible. So many applications that 2 years ago was not allowed or was not imagined became feasible, allowing national oil companies and other public companies or state-owned companies to move it to the cloud. Another point that was not mentioned by the three technologies you mentioned before was the CO2 footprint reduction, because when you move your data center on-premise to the cloud data center is powered by green energy by principle, because they have commitment to reduce their footprint also, okay? So now with this amount of data being possible, and with independent of how deep the technology you need to use to process the data, make it possible to speed up AI, HPC, etc. So the data lake was there, the data was clean and ready to be used. So imagine the people that are very creative, okay, can do everything, okay, because the infrastructure is ready to go.
Thank you, Maka, bringing the cloud perspective. I would mention that I'm very glad with that, because I was one of the voters for cloud in the event in 2019. I really believed on that, and I'm glad to hear that from you. Thank you for sharing. And now, Professor Nível, I'm very curious to listen to your thoughts 2 years after the Oil and Gas Tech Week about those technologies.
Thank you, Borella. Hello, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here with you. And in the discussion, as already mentioned, artificial intelligence was the champion. And I will focus mostly on AI. And I would like to start mentioning Professor Andrew Ng is a professor at Stanford University and co-founder of Coursera, has a talk entitled AI is the New Electricity. The reason of the title is an analogy with the electricity, which belongs to a kind of technology called general purpose. A general purpose technology has three main characteristics. They are pervasive, enter our daily lives, evolve over time, and generate complementary innovations, such as electricity. Another example from the same time, the beginning of the last century, is the internal combustion engines. And now AI is the new general purpose technology. Is the one of the moment. It is already in our day by day, and it has the ability to classify, to label, to perceive, to predict the future, very important, aspects that are central for occupations and industries. And shows itself capable of being continuously improved, generates complementary innovations such as perception, for instance, computer vision, very important for autonomous vehicles, recognition of emotions in the voice, and cognition, like problem solving, which are the basis of innovation. For example, when we receive a phone call from a close friend or a relative, we instantly recognize who is talking. In a few seconds, we know the reason, we know if the person is sad, happy, angry, preoccupied with something. Traditional software engineering has not been able to create a program capable of recognizing feelings like these ones in speech. But artificial intelligence can, because it learns from data examples. That's it, Borella. Back to you.
Thank you, Professor. Great thoughts on the importance of artificial intelligence, and we still see the consequences of electricity in our society, as we have been discussing electrical cars. So maybe artificial intelligence is still in the early phases, and we have a lot to apply, a place to apply it, and a lot of value to capture from it. Great thoughts.
It was very slow at the beginning.
Very good point. Very good point. We have a lot to learn about that. Yeah. Very good. And after those very good insights and thoughts about the last 2 years, now I would like to talk about the future. What about the next 2 or 5 years? I would like to listen from you all. Which would be the technology that may be in evidence from now on? Could we keep the same order, Tamara, and start from you?
Sure. Okay. From my perspective, I would say there are 3 key ones. The first one we have already talked about, the value of the information, no? What we can do with all this data, with all this information. The second one would be, biotechnology. Honestly, due to this crisis we are living today, this is becoming a really key subject, and for sure it's gonna be supported, conveniently with all these techniques, all these technologies related to big data, computer processing, and so on. And the third one would be, all the aspects related to energy transition and how to reduce the emissions. Okay, we are entering in developing more complex models, energy models. The energy matrix of the countries are being, under discussion. Basically, we are thinking again, we are rethinking how to do things, but always under the intention of this care about the emissions reduction. So basically, I would like to point out these three ones. As I said at the beginning, in terms of the value of the information, there are a lot of things to be done. We all know that, for example, the quantum computer has not really become a reality. When I'm saying not a reality, it's not a commodity, it's not accessible for everybody. This is gonna be something that we think we will be living, and would be a disruptive point, to democratize, the developments of all the sectors, and especially the oil and gas. For example, Repsol has a lot of initiatives in the portfolio of technology related to this artificial intelligence application. We are also working in robotics technologies, because right now we are focusing in using this information, but right now we can be thinking a little bit further, and implementing solutions that could, improve the workforce, and also reducing the risks, the exposure of the people. At the same time, we are, as I mentioned, we are developing systems to apply artificial intelligence techniques for example, monitoring facilities, and inferring, how to improve the maintenance campaigns and so on. Also related to this, we are working in how to improve the communications of the data. It's not also a challenge to monitor, to get that information, how to how to implement sensors in all the operations. This is also a task that we have not touched too much today in our conversation, but it's also connected to the development of nanotechnology and devices, that could be implemented in high risk environments. And in parallel, we can also talk about, how to improve these communications, how to send the information from the sensors in remote places to the processing units. And this is also a key point that we are tackling when we, for example, we are working in a project related to Wi-Fi subsea. How to democratize again this type of communications, and how to democratize also the information sharing. We Maga talk a little bit right now about the legal implications of sharing this information. It's something that should be tackled at a country level, because it's directly connected to the legislations of the different countries. We can talk about several examples about that. The information, for example, coming from the subsurface is really strategic information for most of the governments. Also, we have a split, about the different contractors. For example, in the oil and gas sector, we know that most part of the operations are subcontracted, and subcontracted not only in one contractor, split it in several ones. So how to share that information, that data, and get the benefit out of it is also a challenge. And basically, this is my final conclusions from my side. Thank you very much.
Okay, Thank you, Tamara, for sharing. And I see the oil and gas industry is very broad, and I see a strong and broad portfolio of technologies being applied in different areas. And Marcia would like to share of us the future perspective of the portfolio of Petrobras that I believe will be in the same direction or some differences, if you can highlight them to us.
Okay, I agree with all the things that Tamara said, and I have some beats. In 2021, looking to the next few years, I realized that artificial intelligence will increasingly consolidate and take important steps towards in its maturity, which in addition to knowing how to classify elements and predict the results, will advance strongly in the automation of decisions without human supervising. Another great fact that I cannot forget is the implementation of 5G, which will quickly enable the massification of the IoT. The industrial environment is a fertile barn for the adoption of this technology with quick gains through the sensitive machines and equipments, helping in predictive maintenance, avoiding unscheduled shutdowns, and in optimizing process by obtaining information that was previously non-existent. In the same sense, the adoption of wearables will provide real-time monitoring of people's health indicators and of activities favoring health, safety, and well-being in industrial environments. After all, working on the saved at a depth of more than 2,000 miles and more than 200 kilometers from the coast becomes a much greater challenge than work on the surface of the moon. Blockchain technology that is still taking a few steps beyond cryptocurrency, has great potential for adoptions soon as establishing insourcing contracts, tracking products through the supply chain to ensure quality, reduce supplier complaints, and accelerate conflict resolution. For the oil and gas industry that has a large and complex supply chain, the applications is vast and the benefits are immediate. Quantum computing is the technological ability to process an absurd high volume of information in incredible short periods of time, and it can be used to increase the efficiency of oil and gas company and help reduce carbon emissions. That it's very important. That's the most thing that we are talking in these times about ESG. Cybersecurity will continue its roles as an enabler from the adoption of these technologies and will need to use them as tools in its new challenges. From a cybersecurity point of view, quantum computer becomes the next big challenge and needs to be closely monitored as secure encryption algorithms will lose their robustness and the data exposure can become a reality of proper care. It's not taken or implemented. So we have to take to pay very attention to care about security. All these technological change in systems requires time for planning and implementation without impacting the pillars of information security and without exposing the company to the possible fines under current legislation, loss of competitive information, or even failures in the integrity of data that are changing between machines. Well, basically, I think that we have a lot of ideas in common with Tamara. We have the same point of view that what is coming. That's it, Varela.
Very good. And here, listening to you too, I see a doubt that we had in the beginning of digital transformation for the oil and gas, because usually people treat oil and gas industry as a lagger in terms of technology, but the oil and gas industry had always the mindset of applying R&D We just, as an industry, expanded the vision to innovation in general. And I can see very robust portfolios on those two big operators in Brazil. And now I would like to listen from Maca the perspective of a broader perspective from the industry, or looking into other industries, what they are looking at for the next years.
Thank you. For sure, the oil and gas industry set the path for other industries. For the manufacturing industry is automobile, but the process industry for sure is oil and gas, because besides the raw material that we supply for the petrochemicals, for the pulp and paper, for all others, is by principle, oil and gas start from data. When you start doing your seismic, is the first huge amount of data that was used since the beginning, okay? How to process it, the tools changed, but for a long, long time, one example, Brazilian Petroleum Institute, that is 64 years old, the first working group was instrumentation and process control. That was the first one that prepared the structured data to be used by all IT guys, okay? What is going on now, in my opinion, is the merge between IT, that is the most intelligent portion of the industry, and my background in process automation, we use a lot of the experience from IT to OT, and nowadays these two teams are in a fusion process. If you remember well, in 1996, when Mr. Bill Gates announced in a process automation congress in US, the OPC, the OLE for process control, all the system integration became easy. You don't need to use nothing special. You could use similar to low code, no code that we are suffering today, okay? So after that, in 1999, we suffered a big impact. It was the bug of the millennium. All of you remember what will happen, because for the first time, the people gave a look to the control room and they realized that we have a computer over there. And it was not only the data processing computer in my data center that could have the clock back to zero, but also what will happen with the DCS that was already digital. But it was in proprietary hardware, proprietary protocols. After that, Windows-based machine entered the process automation world. And again, the arena that Marcia Tosta is the best player from this team became more and more important. Now, the trend that mix OT and IT will bring us new challenges. For example, what we will do with our SCADA system, with our PIMS, our LIMS, our DCS, our IoT, what we will do with our sensors that today can connect directly to the cloud without to pass through a hardware like a input card, a DCS and blah, 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 and to pay license for each bit that you process, okay? So this new trend we call edge computer, okay? So nowadays is very, very easy, okay? You have a data box, or say a piece of your public cloud, the hardware itself, for free, in your facilities, in a drilling rig, in a FPSO, in a refinery, with your own LTE, so you have your private network, totally protected, okay? So you can have this to use and deploy the real intelligence, the cognitive portion, the creative portion, the innovative portion, because data is data. If you use very well protected in a big data lake, very well organized, your creativity can do everything. So this is the new, in the next 3 to 5 years will be the new reality, and what we call intelligent clouds. Why intelligent cloud? Because I can massage all this data, put deep learning, artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc., locally. I don't need to wait for the delay to send it to the public cloud. After I process it to prepare my dashboards, for example, or my decision maker algorithms, okay, I can transfer to the public cloud. But the end user do not see any difference. They pay as you go, as since the beginning, okay, similar to a public cloud. So recent technology was launched called Mesh. Okay, so Mesh will allow us with the technology that Marcia mentioned. Okay, the augmented reality or mixed reality technology, that we, for example, in this presentation, we could be represented by holograms. Okay, seems that we were in the same stage, in despite we are in different cities. Okay. With the 5G technology that will come to Brazil finally the end of this year, and the delay will reduce it by 20 times or 40 times, okay? So instead of 80 milliseconds in 4G, 20 milliseconds in 4.5G to 1 millisecond in 5G, okay, all this will become more commodity, okay? And I hope next time, 2 years from now, when we start talking again, to tell to Marcia, to Tamara, and to Professor Nívio, quantum computing will be a commodity too.
Good, very good, Maca. Thank you very much for the insights. And what I listened from the previous three talks is highly related with innovation. How do we leverage the capability to innovate with these new tools that we have in our hands? Of course, respecting the security elements associated to it. And based on what was said, Professor Nívio, I would like to listen your visionary perspective on all of that.
Well, next 2 years, well, the impact of AI is already huge, but will become more and more important as time goes on. Data, as already mentioned, is increasing available. Computing power is continually growing, and algorithms are increasingly powerful. The advantage of AI is that it offers the possibility for computers to learn without being explicitly programmed. They learn from data. This is possible due to an important sub-area of AI called machine learning, a type of science capable of identifying emotions, recognizing people, or identifying the path of oil in a pre-salt rock, for example. Consider the oil and gas exploration phase. Combining geology and machine learning with geology with machine learning is important to advancing critical programs toward the goals of successfully drilling new high-quality oil wells on the first try, or decreasing the time taken between finding a new well and bringing that well into production. In addition, we have, as already mentioned, 5G technology capable of generating a large amount of real-time data, plus related types of technology, such as already mentioned digital twin techniques, virtual reality, wearables, robotics, nanotechnologies, etc., which will allow great advances in oil and gas industry. But I think that AI will be supporting all of them. Back to you, Barella. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all of you. Great insights. And of course, now we are going to enter the people that joined the presentation with their questions. And the first one, of course, everybody right now, besides technology, we need to take a look to people too, because people are highly involved and have a strong relationship with the technology in the daily basis. And the post-COVID scenario, of course, is bringing a question about hybrid work. So the question is if in the world post-COVID, the effectively hybrid work will be the new format. So I would like now that we have the open questions that you feel free to interact and pick up the questions as you feel comfortable.
I strongly believe that it will be the new normal because everybody discovered that it's possible and it's everybody feel happy and the companies don't need to have some places, don't need to have some costs. So I strongly believe that the hybrid format will be the new normal. I believe it.
My personal opinion was we was almost imposed to change our behavior, like we change a set point in a control loop in a control room. We can change the set point by a step. That what happened in March of 2020, or in a ramp. Okay, I mentioned other day that we was changed in a step. And now we are back to the new set point in a ramp, okay? We have in a learning curve because I remember well, 5 years ago, a company I used to work, they had a program to implement and to emphasize homework. The second week, the guy was at home, his wife put him back to the street and go back to the office, okay? Now we have a new learning. So, look,
really, this is a problem.
and now the first assessment we have made in our company, most of people realize that Monday and Friday was all internal meetings. Why I need to spend an hour on the traffic to go to an office that I could do remotely? So new behavior, new era, okay, new momentum.
There is no doubt that we are going to have some hybrid because it is nice sometimes to work from home. You don't lose time going between places. But I confess that I miss very much the coffee in the intervals, the lunch together, the dinner with a very good wine. This is, I would like to have soon, as soon as possible, a dinner of the hug, okay? This is very important. So we have to mix. And it's very important to return to this relationship that we can't get without having this coffee with one or two people in the room. It's very, very nice to have both.
Okay, so as I see, I would like to thank Dario Jr. for the question, and I have been seeing that all around. Leaders are accepting the hybrid model, so people that expect to have a hybrid model of work can feel safe because even leaders are thinking like that. And of course, everybody wants to come back to the hug. And we are going to be mind open for the alternative. I have the feeling in general with leaders, and it's going to be good for all. And so now going to the second question, thanks to Anderson Lima, that's an important point. He's taking a look on which are the constraints to keep accelerating our industry, especially locally, and which would be the enablers. So if you can share from your perspective, which are the constraints to accelerate and the enablers to keep accelerating?
Well, I can go for that one, if you don't mind. I think in general the normal constraints are always, you know, related to the commercial products and commercial services, no, that are in the market available for being used by everybody. So basically, I would like to just make a reflection here. That well, in the ecosystem, in the Brazilian ecosystem, is really important the role of the law that we need to invest 1% in the case of the petroleum and also the electric sector in R&D in country, because this is going to be key for leveraging, you know, the development of further technologies. And also multiplying, you know, the solutions in the market. As we have mentioned before, you know, the democratization of all this technology is also normally a key point. You know, how easy it is to access to these supercomputers, or in the future the quantum computers, is going to be something that is going to be marking also the development of further technologies. Basically, I think is one of the most important constraints. You know, I don't see too much. No, the other ones more related to legislation and so on that we have already commented are more related, are things that are easy to be solved. You know, I think, you know, but honestly, we need to have something touchable, you know, to be able to develop all these solutions that we have implemented. Okay.
If I could follow what Tamara said, in my humble opinion, manpower, skills, reskilling, okay? We have a technology, we have infrastructure, we have everything available. If you pick up a science speech from Jane Zhang from Shell, for example, she mentioned digitalization is not new. What makes it possible, the cost reduction, the access to the cloud, blah, blah, blah. So the technology is really in a fair level in terms of pricing that you could access. But for example, Borella is, remember her well, and Marcia is suffering this problem today. Petrobras, for example, need to prepare 320 data scientists. I made this assessment by myself, asking one by one. 100 specialized in artificial intelligence, most of them supported by the company to have a postdoc in Stanford, okay? Oh, all this manpower should be available in country, because we have myself and Professor Nísio, we belong to Fundação Dom Cabral, we have people over there, but why? Because the momentum, the speed up of the consumption was faster than the market would prepare people. And for sure, most of young guys prefer to become a unicorn in a startup like Borella now, okay, than to work for engineering. And also, for my surprise, we are still unbalanced. We have only 2 ladies and 3 boys here, okay? We should have more ladies, girls, okay, in technology. And we have many initiatives, some of them sponsored by Microsoft, for example, okay? Also, ladies can program also, okay? And we have a disincentive. And also the Brazilian government. We have an initiative called Brasil Mais, where the 3 ministers was together to allow us to prepare people to be able to support this development. So in my opinion, manpower will be a bottleneck for the next 2-3 years.
Well, Anderson, constraints for the industries. There is a normal culture resistance in adoption of new technologies. This is very common, so it is not easy to change the mind of people. But what happens is that mainly machine learning will be very important because it's possible to have activities without human supervision. So if you have the man plus the machine using machine learning, you are going to have more production, more assertivity, prediction of future things. So both together, they will work much better than alone. So, but there is really a strong culture resistance that must be somehow you have to go around this. This is the main problem, I believe.
Thank you. Great thoughts, and we keep seeing the challenge of inspiring people to embrace the new, and I have no doubt we saw in some comments especially Maka talking about relocation reskilling. That's a way to be inclusive, to take people into account and bring everybody together, benefiting from the results of the technology application. So here I have an opportunity for the third question from Vitor Santana, and will be the last question. That is, how can we connect the digital transformation with sustainability? And if this would be an amazing share, if this would be amazing to share some success history from oil and gas to sustainability.
I can start if you allow me. For example, this meeting, if it would be presential, in person. Now, each one are in separate regions, okay, would have, if you consider the amount of CO2 from the airplane, the Uber, etc., okay, that we save only in this meeting is a huge amount of tons of CO2. Okay, today we have many calculators that tells you when you send an email instead of to go in person to talk, how much money you save. I made one self-assessment because I used to live until January in Rio, but kept to my house where I am today, interior of São Paulo. And once a month, I drove with my wife back and forth, okay? Was 1,200 kilometers. If the carbon footprint would be charged to me, and based on 120 grams per kilometer that my car was emission in CO2, my taxation for my car was not only 2,000 reais per year, but would be 4,527,000 Brazilian reais per year. For sure, if I have this amount of money in my pocket, I would prefer not to travel every month, okay, using my car. So technology is allowing us to reduce a huge amount of CO2 footprint, okay, so this means sustainability. We have many examples, and when we have time, we can share with Vitor, okay?
I can complement a little bit this reasoning. If we move, for example, to the application of digital transformation into the trading operations, we can also find an example. When we talk about the we are talking about how to manage risk, how to improve, the economic returns, when trading with gas, time of derivative products. But at the same time, we can include something that maybe nobody has considered right now, that is how to reduce also in all these logistics and trading operations, how to reduce the CO2 footprint, okay? So this is another example. Another one would be, the one that I already mentioned, when we talk about how to robotize, you know, the certain operational task is the same thing. Whenever you avoid, you know, moving people, moving items or transporting things, you know, you are reducing footprint and you are also improving economics, you know. So I just give this type, these two examples just to show, you know, how wide could be the subject matter. Okay.
Once anybody want to comment on that? Everybody's okay. So I would like, we are getting close to the time when we have a good conversation, we don't even see the time going on. So I'd like to really thank all the speakers, amazing professionals, and they delivered with us today great insights and thoughts for the next years. I hope we can build the vision that they have expressed today with us. Once again, thank you very much to the speakers, IBP and WPC for organizing this event. And thank you for all that are online and joined us. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Thank you.